the situation in which my people are living. It's like state of emergency every day.
Your life is so short. You don't think far, so you don't know what is after me. How will my children be?
Comme on a dit, la vie est chère pour nous. Mais à mesure après que tu veux retourner, on peut avoir notre petit bois. Le plus ou moins, on peut avoir ce tellement dit.
Que viven en una pobreza extrema. Nosotros no podemos hacer nada.
When I see the pictures of the tin roofs and the kids running around in flies flying around, well, it seems so desperate and so hopeless.
Because of you, my life is changed, and now I'm a new person, and I'm grateful.
No tenemos agua, tomamos agua limpia.
आपके दान द्वारा हम और भी बच्चे हैं जिसके द्वारा हम
You're giving your heart an opportunity to change and make an impact on the world.
I see a brighter future out there, and it's all because of you.
Poverty alleviation, or the ability to lift someone permanently out of poverty, is a huge goal, and there are so many factors involved. But it is possible, and I've seen it happen time and time again. And for me, it's been a personal journey, and it's changed my life. My name is C.H. Dyer, and I'm the president and CEO of Bright Hope. My aspirations weren't always to help the poor, but as I started down my financial career, I took an unexpected turn and headed towards seminary. My passion to help see people rise out of poverty was awakened inside me. That awakening sent me on an incredible journey, learning over the last 25 years what the best opportunities, tactics, and designs are to help those living at the bottom of the global economic barrel. I've seen strategies that have worked and empowered individuals and communities to help them lift themselves out of poverty. And unfortunately, I've seen strategies that haven't worked, and I'd like to help. For us to begin to dive into how to help the extreme poor out of poverty, we need a better understanding of who is poor, where are the poor, and what do the poor need. There are 7.4 billion people in the world. Let's say that each of these 7.4 billion people were represented by these 100 people. Of these 100 people, if you were to make more than $60 a day, you would be considered rich. You're at the top of the echelon of the world's resources, earning the most. The majority of people in the US are in this category, even some of those who live below the US poverty line. The next bracket is what we call the middle class. They make between $10 a day to $59 a day. This group in the middle class have most of their basic needs met. They have access to clean water, maybe to healthcare and education, and they have the ability to be mobile. The third group is the working poor, and this by far is the largest group with over half the world's population. These 56 people are making $2 to $10 a day. They have a job, maybe on a farm or some day labor, but they're hardly making it, barely putting food on the table. That brings us to the final 15 people out of the 100. They represent the 1.1 billion people who would be considered the extreme poor. They're living on less than $2 a day. And in this bracket, there's little to no food or clean water, much less an opportunity for education. Each day's goal is purely to survive.
Mon nom c'est Marcel et puis moi j'étais Beganabé. On a gagné 3 garçons. Tant comme on a dit la vie est chère pour nous. Mais à mesure après que tu veux retourner, on peut avoir notre petit bois. Le plus ou moins on peut avoir ce tellement dit. Je tout travail gain qui gain bœuf qui doit charité. gen qui travaille te fait charbon, gen ça qui l'autre toujours qui a fait taxi, quantité monde a dit chercher divers travail comment bien servi. On l'a venu pas me penser.
Now that we've discussed who is poor, let's talk about where they live. The extreme poor live in two distinct places, remote villages and urban slums. Let's start with remote villages. These places are often cut off from the rest of the world. They live off the land, they're hunters and gatherers or subsistent farmers. There is little to no enterprise in this economy. Because of their disconnection from the rest of the world, education and medical care are nearly non-existent. Meet my friend Roderick. When he was 10 years old, living in Zambia, he got a small cut on his leg playing soccer. That small cut, which could have been easily cleaned and bandaged, actually grew into an infection that threatened his entire life. When we found him, we were able to administer antibiotics and brought healing. Roderick's outcome is unfortunately a unique story in this context. Typically, this sort of condition would have had devastating results. Our next place that we see extreme poverty is in the urban slums. Many people who live in remote villages flee to the cities in hopes that they'll find a job to provide for their family.
I'm Grace Openda. My house has 6 children plus me, 7 members in the house. Life in Valley is very hard and very challenging. You must see what is after me. How will my children be?
Grace has to wake up very early in the morning to take care of her business, which is selling groundnuts. If the day is bad, she will stay until either 9 o'clock in the night before she comes back home. And that means that the children are alone, waiting for her to come back at night to either prepare for them something to eat, or when the day is bad, she will just come back and they will sleep and the day begins again. Most families in Mathare, especially single mothers, lead kind of more or less the same life like Grace. People just go out to look for what they can do and they barely get enough.
In many cities around the world, there is a population influx, and this rapid growth doesn't do anything but create chaos. There aren't enough jobs to go around, and there aren't enough resources to provide shelter, food, or water to the now thousands of people fighting for the same dozen jobs, so urban slums are formed. These neighborhoods pop up on cheap and even discarded land because the extreme poor can't afford quality housing. Governments don't have the resources to even police these areas, so they become dangerous and full of crime. There is no zoning or construction permits, so shacks are sometimes literally slapped together to provide minuscule shelter from storms and the elements. There are so many needs and so many areas in their lives to improve, but how do we truly help? Simply providing help or a handout is not a permanent solution. What they need is for people to come alongside them and love them for who they are and what they can become. They need the tools of empowerment and the context of a loving relationship. They need to connect to the resources that allow them to have hope, not just for today, but for tomorrow and eternity. And that's what we do at Bright Hope. Grace is a perfect example of the type of person that Bright Hope is empowering the church to meet their needs. They've accepted the children into the school. They're helping her to learn a new trade. They've gone and loved her.
God is doing wonderful things in me. Even my family, my children are in a safe place.
With the church, some children in the slums have attained education. Over 1,000 children are being fed. child mortality rate has reduced by 50%.
Before, we could not walk in Malari. So God is doing something today. You can see, you can walk. It's changing the life.
My life has been transformed. The biggest lesson I've learned is that when we connect and most importantly learn from those living in deep poverty, we actually receive much more than we ever give. We experience what's called mutual transformation. And if you're not being transformed when you give to the poor, you're missing out. In the next video, we'll dive more into what this relationship really looks like for those living in extreme poverty and how when you connect with the poor, your life can be changed. Maybe you've heard stories that have touched your heart and lessons learned that you maybe would like to share with others. So check out our closed Facebook group so we can hear from you. We'd love to walk through this with you and find ways to empower you to empower others. For Bright Hope, I'm CH. Thanks for your heart for the extreme poor. Know that we're praying that your life would be transformed. See you next time.